Hey, good morning, Huntsville. Welcome into episode 32 of Good Morning Huntsville. Thanks for waking up with us here on a little overcast Wednesday, but so much to be thankful for today. We'll dig into all the great things happening here in our community. As always on a Wednesday, we are joined by our good friends Rick and Kay Boning of Tomorrow's Promise Montessori Schools. Good to have you, Kay. How you doing today?
You're getting better.
I'm getting better. It's taken a while, but those S's and Z's have finally kind of flattened out, so we're good to go. So good to see you.
Good seeing you.
Great event last night, business after hours. Yeah. We'll dig into that throughout the episode today. Rick also joining us. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Rob. I hope you're doing as well as I am.
What time did you roll in here today? Because I
rolled in here about 6:30, but I had to go and unload stuff from last night at the school.
Okay, so. Yeah, because I saw the van here. I was like, man, Rick is here before me this morning. I need to give you a key. This is your show on Wednesday.
I wouldn't know what to do anyway.
Well, that's all right. And, I'll give you a key. We'll figure it out. We want to welcome you in again this morning. Let us know you're out there. And as always, as you're waking up, let us know what you're thankful for today. There's a lot going on. I think especially here in this community, we have a lot to be thankful for this morning. Had some pretty severe weather roll through the area. And I know that we'll highlight some of that as the show goes on as well. But, our prayers are with folks that are affected this morning. I know folks in the Forest Hills neighborhood, there's been a lot of trees and damage out there. And big thank you to several churches. Northside Baptist Church was out there in full force yesterday from what we heard, helping to clean up some of those trees. But, it's tough. You never know. And, we were down in Panorama Village. Bridget and I, actually, Shenandoah, had a baby appointment for Caden. And we're sitting there coming back down 45. We actually pulled over at Smoky Mo's Barbecue. And Bridget and I were like, we need some Smoky Mo's. So we pulled over and we were in the line ordering the food. And all of a sudden the buzz goes off on our phone. And it says severe weather alert or immediate warning. And it was one of those push messages. And it said tornado warning in your area now until 3:45. I was like, tornado warning? And I look over and we see dark clouds. Within the next 2 minutes, it was just the skies just unleash. And I have never been in that situation. We used to, after the Gerald tornado, and unfortunately we're coming up on that anniversary here in just a few days. It'll be almost 25 years now that tragic storm hit that community. That's right where I grew up. And after that, we used to do storm chasing, not for pleasure or fun, but we wanted to figure out ways that, how can we document this? And my friend Jeff Mangum has taken it to a whole nother level now. And so, you're prepared in that situation. You have your devices with you. You have your maps. You have certain radars. You know where stuff is happening. We weren't prepared. We didn't wake up in the morning and say, let's go chase a storm today, especially with a pregnant lady and a baby in the car.
Yesterday, I was in my office, and I didn't realize how bad it was. It actually wasn't that bad where we were. It rained hard, but she and I both grew up in Tornado Alley, and, they have the sirens that go off. And growing up, you hear that siren, you look around, you don't say anything, you're good.
Well, you could see stuff because there's no trees.
That's true. It is pretty flat.
So you watch the clouds.
Yeah, because you guys were in Oklahoma.
Well, I was in Texas, but pretty much the same kind of area.
Yeah, and it's just...
it's flat.
Thankfully, we'd got out of there, and I told the guy at Smoky Mo, I said, maybe we should go in. I said, I think it's going to go, around us on the side. And so we got on 45, and that's when literally 2 minutes later. And Bridget told me last night, she goes, how are you so calm? I said, sweetheart, I wasn't calm. Did you not hear me saying a prayer? But I didn't want to, overreact while I was with her. And our good friend Sally Dowis will be joining us here in just a few moments from HISD Social Services, and we'll have her on. But, we're cruising through there, and I just remember, as I was telling Sally earlier when she walked in, I thought it was hailing at first. And it wasn't hail, it was tree branches and limbs that were hitting our car. And so we had found a church there right off 45 and pulled into but they had a big overhang, and we pulled into that. And I have never seen, I've seen heavy winds, high winds before, but I have never seen pine trees literally halfway to the ground. And I'm surprised. I know, here in Huntsville, unfortunately, a lot of them did come uprooted, but up there, none of them came uprooted. But we saw a sign blow out, and you think in that moment, the first thought that comes through my head is, like, I have Bridget with me, she's pregnant, and we have a baby with us. And Braylon's sleeping. She slept through the whole thing. So, that was one of the reasons that we stopped in the drive-thru at Smoky Mo's instead of going in, because Braylon was already asleep. But yeah, so our prayers are with folks this morning. I know there's still power outages here in the community. and folks had to stay in hotels and things last night. And so, we'll definitely help out any way that we can. And so get the word out. If you need help and there's organizations out there, please let us know what you're doing to help, and we will provide that information here on the show. But good to have you, Rick and Kay. Tomorrow's Promise Montessori Schools. You guys are our Wednesday Foundation 5 sponsors. Big event happening last night. How was the business after hours? I was there. It was great. How did you enjoy it? It was a lot of fun.
It was a very humbling experience. I cannot believe what all Andy had to say. That was about made me cry.
Yeah, Mayor Broniger was there last night, and a proclamation. Kay, we'll play that here on the back end of the show this morning. Just tremendous. We always talk about the good in our community and how many people come together to help out, and just to receive that proclamation. And I didn't realize this, Kay, because you're very humble, but 800 books a month are going out now to kiddos. Mayor brought that up.
Over 800.
What's that experience just been like for you? I know you just said humbling, but, to see this transition for so many years and to see great things happening, not just for you, but for kids in our community.
It's amazing to see some of my first students returning with their children. I've had some of those start to happen. And seeing some of the children I taught when they were little be out in the community and doing things in the community. I never thought that 25 years ago when I started the school. I never dreamed that they would be growing up and being in the community. I was just focused on them being 3 and 4 or 5 years old, kind of thing. And so to look back, it's like, oh, wow. The thousands and thousands of children that have come through the school and what the teachers have done.
One of your Foundation 5 members was one of our students.
Was that Justin?
Justin Killingsworth.
Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, it was a neat event. There was many people there. It just beautifully done. The food was great. Sam's Table was there, and just enjoyed it. Tap Truck came by as well. Val and her staff do an incredible job. But it was a lot of fun just celebrating and hearing the stories, and then just seeing the community come together and celebrate that. And the award that you guys had just received there from the SBA and SBDC, to have the area representative there, that was an honor, too, to have him talk about that award that you guys received.
Yeah, and he drove through the storm to get here. So that was very, very nice, very dedicated that he came all that way to say some words and stuff. That was neat.
I wasn't planning on bringing Bridget and Braylon, because Bridget was tired, but we just talked about we got stuck down there in a little bit in Panorama Village, and so I wasn't planning on bringing them, but I told Bridget, I said, hey, sweetheart, I've got to get over here to support Rick and Kay. Do you mind coming with me? She said, no, not at all. And it worked out because Braylon was having the time of her life. She saw those balloons and had to grab her a couple of times because I thought she was going to pop you up the balloons yesterday.
I saw Matt Childers having a good time with her, too.
Yeah. We were actually looking for folks for future babysitters, so it worked out. We identified 3 or 4 people that did really well. It was kind of an interview without them knowing that did very well yesterday. So
Matt, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Guess who's volunteered?
Matt, thanks a lot. Yeah.
He's been voluntold.
Yeah, that's the key of Huntsville. We talk about all the good happening in this community, but it's voluntold. I'm serious. I'm at our WCRC, which is Walker County Referral Cooperative meeting yesterday. We meet every Tuesday at noon over at Bonnie's Hideout there with Val and Tap Truck. And, it was funny because we always do, one thing I love about Huntsville, we always do pledges. And the Texas Pledge, you don't see that in any other community. We always do a prayer. It doesn't matter what event we're at. It always seems like, and I love that. That's what I love about Huntsville. And so we get to the meeting yesterday, and we always do the invocation first. And it wasn't an ask. It was, there was a lady there, Deneen, love you. She goes, Rob, do the prayer. It wasn't like, hey, Rob, will you do the prayer? I said, Rob, do the prayer. I said, yes, ma'am. When Deneen talked, you do the prayer. So I was voluntold yesterday to do the prayer. And it's great, though, to be in a community that just lifts you up, and does those things. One other thing that I wanted to point out as we get rolling here, we'll have Sally on here in about a minute or two. Something new came through this isn't really Huntsville related in a way because it particularly starts in Brenham, Texas. But something new showed up in the H-E-B frozen food section a couple of days ago. I'm a fan of Dr. Pepper. And when I mentioned Brenham, obviously, Bluebell ice cream. Mm-hmm. The new Dr. Pepper ice cream float ice cream has been unveiled now, and it's at H-E-B. I'm a fan. We ate it last night at 11:30. Not good. You guys like Bluebell?
I like Bluebell.
When we were up north, they didn't have Bluebell. They had Blue Bunny. And I'm not hating on the Blue Bunny, but I'm like, you guys trying to knock off Bluebell with the Blue Bunny, man? And so if you're a fan of Bluebell ice cream and you're a fan of Dr. Pepper, I think the good Lord just opened up a little bit of heaven here on earth for you. So it was pretty good. We had to slow down, though. I told Brad, I was like, sweetheart, it's 11:30. We're sitting here eating ice cream. Braylon was already asleep. So next week on the show, maybe we'll bring a little Bluebell ice cream to get started early in the morning.
Was there anything left?
Oh, yeah. There was, we just had a little bit.
Okay.
But I told Bridget they had the pints. And I told her, I said, hey, can we just buy the pints, right? She goes, I don't think that'll be enough. So we dug in and ate the whole thing. But it was a lot of fun. So, look at your local HEB for your Bluebell ice cream coming up. And they don't sponsor the show. And send me a check for $100, and I'll make sure to donate it to Tomorrow's Promise. So that's your key this morning as we get going. But hey, do want to welcome you in again. We are here on a Wednesday. Got a great show lined up. Sally Dowis joining us from HISD Social Services here in just a few moments to talk about the impact that they are making on students here in our community as well. We'll also talk more about what's going on around Huntsville, and we want you to chime in this morning. Feel free to leave comments. Let us know that you're out there as always. Our good friend Jerica already chiming in this morning, so good morning to you, Jerica. And as always, our good friend Sweet Caroline's Floral Shop has brought us a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Those are right there in front of Kay. We were joking around. We were moving them around before the show got started, but we appreciate Leah Lineback and all that she does here in the community as well. If you like this broadcast, if you put a little hashtag comment saying good morning, visit Huntsville TX, whatever you comment with the hashtag, and then share this broadcast, you will automatically be entered to win this beautiful bouquet of flowers. We'll be giving those away on Friday, so all those entries will be collected, and then on Friday we'll be giving away these flowers. So make sure that you enter that contest as well. And again, we appreciate Leah. And before we take our first break and bring Miss Sally on, I do want to remind you that we are broadcasting here downtown, beautiful square. Our studio is sponsored by Elliott's Jewelers. You can check them out online at elliotsjewelers.com. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. When we come back, Sally Dowis joining us from HISD. Stay with us. We've got a great show on the way, and it's all because you're up with us this morning. We'll be right back. Hey, good morning, friends, and welcome back in. Rob Hipp here on Good Morning Huntsville as we're rocking and rolling on episode 32. Unbelievable to think that it's already 32 episodes in. I mean, just 2 months ago, we were in the frozen tundra, and now we're back here in Huntsville and enjoying every moment of it. Again, joined by Kay Boning at Tomorrow's Promise Montessori Schools. They are our Wednesday Foundation 5 sponsor, helping to bring this show, but boy, what a joy and privilege this morning to have our good friend, Miss Sally Dowis of Huntsville ISD, joining us today. Sally, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing better than I deserve. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I know coming in this morning, we were talking when you got here, and our prayers are definitely with you this morning. I know you live in Forest Hills, and power's out over there. You guys are having to stay, in a hotel right now. Just wanted to let you know, first and foremost, we're praying for you that everything is okay over there. Before we dig in and talk more about HISD and the social services and the great things that you've been doing, just give us a little bit of background on you and how you got to Huntsville and just your passion for what you get to do every day.
Well, it's a strange route that I took. I always thought that I was going to be a minister of music and youth growing up, and there was another plan that I was not aware of. And I was on my way to school one day, and the only time God's ever audibly spoken to me is He said, "You're going to be a social worker." I hadn't a clue what a social worker was. This was the mid-'70s. Who knew what a social worker? I had never heard of CPS, or child welfare as it was called back then. So I had to find a school that offered it, and got finished my degree got my degree at Midwestern in Wichita Falls, and came down here for graduate school, thinking that I would, because I'm from Dallas, and moving to Wichita Falls was a small town to me. And then I came down here and I thought, I'm going to walk across that stage to my packed car, and I am going home to, the big city. And it just never happened. I loved this town. I loved the feel of it. I made friends here. There was just nothing to go back that I wanted to go back to. My parents loved coming down here. They did when my father was alive, and it's just a different pace. And I can't imagine living anyplace else. Unfortunately, my son and then David, who lives with us, they're not getting to learn how to drive in a city atmosphere. I learned driving on the freeways. That's where we just did. And now, it was a long time before I let Jared or David get on the freeway. So it's a little bit different, but I do love living here.
Yeah, I would say though, if you went from the big city and then driving here, it was kind of easy peasy, and I get what you're saying.
Well, we have Rush Minute from 5 to 5:01. 5 to 5:15 actually, when everybody and their dog is on 11th Street trying to get somewhere. But it's better than sitting in traffic on a freeway.
Yeah, I will never again, Sally, complain about a 10-minute drive. I think the longest part of my journey every day is coming from the back part of Elkins to the feeder road. After that, I'm like, man, it's golden. So
exactly.
That is where I grew up. That is the town. So this is the largest town I've lived in. So by the time I'm out of Elkins, I'm like, we got to go somewhere. I mean,
you're in another city.
It's clear across the universe, kind of thing. I mean, we're in another town, kind of thing.
Sally, how long did you spend in Wichita? Because when I think of Wichita Falls, before in another life, I was a big weather guy. I loved weather and just studying weather. And I remember one of the most prominent images. I actually had nightmares of this, not to be weird about anything, but there was a tragic tornado back in Wichita Falls.
It was April of 79.
My goodness, yeah. So how long were you in Wichita Falls?
From January of 78 till August of 79.
So you were there for a little bit.
I was there during the tornado.
Yeah, that's just, I know the city, and it's like when I was mentioning Gerald earlier, Gerald, Texas, we grew up in Georgetown just 5 minutes south, and there was in fact, the last F5 tornado to hit the state of Texas, it's been since May the 27th of 97, but because of, I prominently remember that Wichita Falls one because I was studying tornadoes, especially when I was 12, 13 years old after the Gerald one, and that always stuck into my head, and I've never met anybody from Wichita Falls, so it's good to meet you, someone from Wichita Falls.
It was somewhat strange because my father worked for Rockwell International, and they were the ones that were doing the communications. And of course, this tornado had hit, and it had decimated the entire south part of town. And it moved the Coliseum, dome of the Coliseum, over a little bit. It didn't damage a whole lot of campus, but right across the street, all the apartments were leveled. And I remember looking out, and you couldn't get in and out. Dallas News was saying Wichita Falls has been leveled, Midwestern State's been leveled, and I just remember looking out at one time and going, that looks like Daddy running across campus. And my dad worked for Rockwell. They were only letting people in that were doing communications. And here's Daddy running across the campus because he could get in. But my professor moved in with me because there was no housing left. So she moved into the dorm with me. It was a different ending of the semester, no doubt.
Well, again, Sally Dowis joining us this morning. She is with Huntsville ISD Social Services, and one reason I wanted to have you on, you spoke at Rotary here just about a week ago or so, and I love folks that are passionate about what they do. And you smiling right now, I know that you are passionate about making a difference in young people's lives, just like Kay and Rick and why they started Tomorrow's Promise. And you are helping students that have very critical needs. Maybe these students don't have areas that they feel comfortable with, or they don't have the resources to do things that some kids get to do. And you have a heart for seeing these kids and just bringing joy to their lives. Tell us a little bit about that journey. I know that you mentioned, hearing the word from God saying, hey, social worker and not knowing what that was. And I mean, that's the starting point right there. But then working in that realm and eventually getting to Huntsville ISD, kind of walk us through that journey, if you don't mind, Sally.
Out of graduate school, or during graduate school, I worked with some juvenile offenders and with a local Department of Human Services contract. And then I went to work for CPS and did CPS for 10 years. I loved every minute of it. I had a terrific boss. I worked here in Walker County, started in Montgomery County, worked here, and loved what I did. You know, I just saw the difference. And it is the hardest job you'll ever love, no doubt. Mm-hmm. What I learned about that job is, for my profession, is documentation and really looking at what's best for the kids. I mean, putting that first. And it was before they had computers, everything was handwritten or dictated. The secretaries had a computer, they had a typewriter. And so it was very different. But after being there 10 years, and I had said that when I had one of my children, it was in foster care. When I got him settled into an adoptive home, I would leave, but I couldn't leave until then. I just could not leave until then. And Judge Baker was the judge, and Don Kramer was the attorney. And I just always said I wouldn't leave until he was. And his adoption consummated in May of '92. And in June of '92, I left CPS and went to work for the school district.
And been there ever since.
Been there ever since. They didn't, they knew they wanted somebody in the field. They didn't know really what they wanted. So my job over the years has changed somewhat. But I do love what I still do. I mean, every day, I always said if I get up in the morning and don't want to go to work, that's the time to start looking at getting out. Dr. Beto, years ago, in one of his classes, said, all you can give to a job in 10 years. And after 10 years, you need to find a new focus within that job if you're going to stay there, or you need to find another field, with another job within your field. And I took that to heart, because over the last 32 years at the school district, I really have changed focus. The first few years, it was all about attendance. They didn't know what to do about attendance. I knew the court system, so I could do that. And that was good for about 10 years. Then we brought somebody else on, my attached at the hip coworker, Juanita Hall. She and I separate the school district. She does pre-K to 4th, and I do 5th grade to 12th. And that's worked really well. And we've changed our focus now from attendance more to really meeting the needs of the community and the kids, because there's so many needs out there. COVID just exacerbated everything. We saw families that were doing fine before just plummet, and we've not really recovered from that.
Whenever again, we're talking to Sally Dowis here this morning, and appreciate her being here and sharing her experiences and her life journey and her passion of serving others and serving youth. When you talk about the needs, we've seen the school system here grow tremendously. You have, mm-hmm. Not me. I've only been here 4 years, but you've seen the school system grow from the 90s into where it is now. What have been, maybe some of the highlights, and what have been some of the challenges that you've seen over that time?
Oh, gosh. Influx of people moving to Huntsville that have no family here, no resources here. It's almost like there's a billboard on the freeway that says, if you want your kids to be loved, come to Huntsville. And I realize that opinion isn't shared by everybody, but it's shared by most of the people. Our teachers love our kids, and we do well with them. Now, is it a challenge? You bet. You bet. Not every child comes from a good place in their life, and they don't come equipped with all of the tools they need. And we have to start over with some, and some are doing fine. But what I see in Huntsville probably more than anything is I love what I do. I love the kids. The community is so supportive of our school district. and I've seen it grow. I mean, and I think I love having other choices out there. We've gone from having, just a couple of schools to now having several charter schools, private schools, or whatever. That gives everybody an opportunity to find what they need. I still think public schools are the best, but everybody needs to find their niche.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's opportunities for kids just to feel loved here in Huntsville. And I love what you said, and I know Kay can echo this sentiment. When you're a kid in Huntsville, and I said, and I heard you say not everybody shares that opinion. I'm going to challenge you today that if you don't share that, you need to start sharing that opinion. Because I'm telling you, being around kids and seeing them not only, in public, but seeing them at Huntsville ISD, seeing them at Tomorrow's Promise, there's so much joy in these kids' faces because of the work that you guys put in at all levels with the school system, with Tomorrow's Promise. And I think that's important.
And a lot of people, I don't have children. I don't have anything to do with the school district. I don't have, my kids are gone, or I didn't have children. Well, it matters because that child's going to grow up, and that child may be the person that's taking care of you in the nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
That child may be the person that's working and waiting on you at the restaurant. That child may be the doctor that
Exactly.
you go see. That child is going to grow up to be somebody. And so it matters, every child matters, and matters what you do with them and how you teach them and what they learn and everything, because they're going to grow up and be somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And what somebody do you want them to be? Do you want them to be one of the people in the prison, or do you want them to be a productive member of society? And so it matters.
It does. I think that's good. And, and Sally, you and Kay know this. It just starts with loving on the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I truthfully believe that. Now, as a parent, I finally feel like the things that I say have a little bit of substance now that I'm a dad. Instead of me just talking and running my mouth, I'm like, no, I have a daughter now, so I get it. And I'm learning, though. I'm still baby steps.
You're just a baby when it comes to this.
But
We're veterans in the field.
But I do understand, though, that kids need to feel loved, and they need to feel appreciated, and they need to be spoke highly of.
Mm-hmm.
And I had talked about it on the show just a couple of days ago. It broke my heart because we're leaving church, and not here in Huntsville, but it was down in Houston, and we're leaving church, and there's a young lady that is literally cursing at her probably 8 to 10-year-old girl coming out of church.
Oh.
And I told Bridget, I said, let's step back a minute, just like physically step back. Because number one, I didn't want Braylon to see that, because I don't want her to, not to shelter her from that, but I didn't want her 18 months to
Sure.
say, like, is this how mommies act to their kids? But then the second thing, and I told Bridget, because I had the anger too, seeing that. But then I told Bridget, I said, you know what? That young lady, she probably grew up in an environment where she was treated that way, and nobody loved on her. And I said, that's the kids that need to be loved on the most, the ones that aren't growing up. And it's true, and it's tough. And I know you've seen things, and of course we're not going to talk about those things because there's privacy things and that. But that's why it's important to have folks such as yourself, to come in and to embrace these kids and to love on them. And I think that's 100,000% where your heart is, Sally.
It is. Juanita and I both work with the parents too very closely. Try to model better parenting. Talk about things like that, how you talk to your child and what effect it has on them. Neither she nor I are timid in telling parents, nah, that's not the way you should do things, and explaining to them that it is going to have a long-term effect on them. We have so many kids. Of course, you talk about social media and television. The way people talk to each other are the things that they hear on television, the things that they see, the things that they see on social media. The texting, they talk a whole different way with texting now. And our younger generation of parents, that's the way they've kind of grown up. And if we don't make them realize it and see that you've got to speak lovingly to your child, and you've got to give them good, some good vibes and some acclamations, they're not going. It's just going to get worse. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more negative, and then a little bit more negative until in a couple of generations, it's going to be worse than it is now. And it's not really
it goes
great
back
now.
to the Bible: "Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you." In Montessori, we are supposed to talk to the children the way we want to be talked to. And so, does that mother want to be cussed out by you or the preacher or anybody else. I mean, if you would just talk to people the way you wanted to be talked to, or if you would just act towards people the way you want to be acted to, it'd be the world would be a whole lot better.
Sure.
But
I had a gentleman in here, a really good friend of mine, came in the other day, and he came in, said hello. We spoke for well over an hour, ended with a hug and a prayer, and that's always a good conversation when those end like that. And he told me, simple things that bring hope to kids. And after he left, and it's my buddy Melton, I can say his name because we talked about it, and I love Melton Green and his family. They're just good people, and Melton's had struggles, and he's been very open about it, and he's found a life of redemption. And I said, Melton, you've been through situations that kids are experiencing this day, and here in Huntsville, but not just here, it's all over the place. And I said, I think you're going to be a future voice for these young people. And he said that there was just simple things that you don't even think about that bring hope to kids. We were interviewing kids on social media, just highlighting them. And he goes, Rob, do you realize how much hope that brought? And you don't think about it. You're just interviewing a kid because you want to promote them. But those kids, some of them think of like, we never had something like that. It's just simple things that these kids embrace, that they latch onto, that can set them up for success. Things that we don't maybe realize because we're just going through the motions every day.
Right. We don't realize it. And we're very fortunate to be able to recognize what we need to do and pass that along. But to speak back to that mother that you saw, first of all, we don't know what was going on in her life.
Yeah.
And we all have moments of failure. As parents, as people, as Christians, we all have those moments. So I'm going to lift a prayer up for her, but we don't know what she was going through. And that's sad that we get brought to that. And she may be a loving parent all the rest of the time. But we sometimes do get caught up. And as parents and people and everything else, our rage just takes over. And it's when prayer comes in and friends that can lift you up. That's when that comes in.
Yeah, and that's an important message because, there may be a parent that was watching saying, I've yelled at my kid before, I've said something. And so, don't feel like that's the end all be all. We all make mistakes. The good news is there's always opportunities to grow and get better. And Sally, the services that you do through the school district are providing these opportunities to help kids to learn, hey, there's hope out here, to help parents learn that you don't have to be in this tough situation. There's a way. Just talk a little bit about some of the things that you do for these kids. I know there's events that y'all take them to. There's different things that you try to help them through. Let us know just about some of the needs and kind of how you help these kids and their families.
Thank you for asking that question.
And I know there's a lot that you can do.
There are a lot of things that we do. Juanita and I are resources for the school. When they call, it's because they can't figure out a solution at the campus to help this family, or they're time locked into helping a family. And Juanita and I go to the houses. We deal a lot more with the parents than sometimes with the children, especially at the younger ages. If there's an issue that's causing problems in the classroom with a child, most likely the parent either doesn't recognize it or doesn't know what to do about it. So we can bring resources to help them through, referring them out to counseling or whatever. And sometimes it's just stress. It's financial stress. How can we help them ease that financial stress? It's not necessarily just giving them money and helping them pay rent. It's teaching them how to budget. And I have a real strong standing that if you want help from me financially that we can help you with to help you pay rent or help with the electric bill, you have to be able to go through Sally's financial boot camp, which is account for every penny you have, so that you're aware of where you spend your money. Mm-hmm. And when I've done this with families, it has been so rewarding because I had a family that had never been on a vacation. I mean, they'd never been anywhere. And we went through Sally's financial boot camp, and they were able to save enough money because I made them account for every penny. So they quit going to convenience stores. They quit buying junk, the things you see next to the grocery, mm-hmm. Those impulsive buys. They weren't spending a lot because they didn't have a lot. But when they realized how much they were spending, they were able to put it aside, and come summer, they were able to take a mini vacation. I had a family who had never been able to go out to a restaurant, I mean a nice restaurant, and they were able to do that just by some money that they saved. So I feel like that is a positive things that we do. Juanita and I are both very frugal, so we don't just hand out, things to families. We want to know, how is this month different than last month? Because we can't put a finger in the dike and know that there's another hole over here. So we want to make sure that parents are being responsible, because we can't be there every month for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want them to know that, but I also want the people who donate to us to know that we are frugal and that we don't, just blow money willy-nilly. We have a very giving community, and we've been very fortunate over the past few years with the POP committee from the chamber, donating things to us and supporting us so that we can do some extra things with kids. The churches have been so good with us, providing us with opportunities to do things. First Presbyterian took a group of kids to Lone Star Lights and provided that opportunity for us. This past week we did a cooking class, and that was the most fun I think Juanita and I've had in 30 years. I mean, because neither she nor I cook.
This is actually why I invited you on this morning, of course, to talk about the kids, but I also was hoping that you'd bring some baked goods in this morning,
Oh,
Sally.
well, we didn't bake, thank goodness. But all the kids made a recipe, and when their parents or whoever they lived with came to pick them up, they were like, oh my gosh, you made this. And the kids were so proud. And we're not talking about, fifth graders. We're talking about high school kids that are getting get on their own. And we had so much fun doing that. First Methodist Church was so gracious in opening their commercial kitchen to us, and the Grumpy Old Men trivia group from HEB provided groceries, and we just had so much fun with these kids. We did a bingo with them. I found out that this generation doesn't know how to play bingo.
Got to bring that back.
Who doesn't know bingo? I had done a whole bingo game with.
They don't know how to do puzzles either.
Really?
And puzzles teach logic.
Absolutely. But we had bingo, and I had one of the kids said, "Do I have a bingo?" He goes, "Can I count the ones from last game?" No, you can't. And then I thought, oh my gosh, they don't know how to play bingo. Most fun game in the world.
I didn't know, hey, just to give them credit, I didn't know how to call bingo when I emceed an event a couple of years ago. Somebody said, Rob, will you MC an event? I said, yeah, sure. I get in there. They didn't tell me I was going to be doing a bingo game. I had no idea. I mean, I know how to play it, but I had no idea how to call it. I didn't realize all the patterns and all that. Had some lady in the front row stand up, you don't know what you're doing. And then I learned really quick.
Uh-oh.
Anyways, yeah. So, kiddos, if you didn't, don't worry. We'll teach you.
I might have been at that.
You probably were. Yeah, it was one of those bingos.
We had a blast anyway. They all went home with dishes, and First National Bank had given us crock pots, and we cooked in crock pots, and they got to take a crock pot home. It was fabulous.
That's great.
And we had parents calling us afterwards going, my child's friend told us about this. When are y'all going to have another one? I don't know. And then had a couple of grandmothers say, we need to open this up to more people. And I'm like, my gosh, people, we had 7 around this table, and it was tough. But we had so much fun. It was just, and Juanita and I both needed this late in our career. We needed that fun back.
Yeah, well, I think it's great. We're talking again this morning with Sally Dowis here from Huntsville ISD Social Services. Appreciate her just blessing us with her time this morning, sharing her experiences, her career, and the impact that she is also making on our youth here in this community. Sally, I know there's a lot of needs, and when you think of the school system, you think, oh, it's publicly funded and all this money's coming to it. That's not the case, and it's truly not. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity of just maybe how the community can reach out. Is there certain things that they can do? I know the summer's coming up, and you were looking for certain items and certain things, because this isn't a 8 to 5 job. It's 24/7, 365. Yes. How can the community get involved? What are some of the needs that you guys have? I know it changes from time to time, but let us know how people can help.
Well, we try to do things with our kids, or at least give activities make activities available to our kids during the summer. Not every child, but we come across a family that's in need and maybe needs a break, and we have some camp activities that are available to kids. We have we try to have things for kids that they normally wouldn't get to do. So getting a pass to the pool, going to Tomfoolery, the local pizzeria that has a game room, the old type of Mr. Gaddy's. We took a group there and had a blast. And so gift certificates to there. I talked with the owner, and he was like, I didn't realize that there was such a need. We have such great communities. We have groups, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the people who have supported us all these years. Junior Service League, and almost every church in town has done something, provided something. Maybe not in a big demonstrative way, but when we've called and we said we've had this need, their committee has come together and helped us meet that need. We have churches that do one Sunday every 6 months or whatever, take a collection, and we are the benefactors of that. Thank you, the Boomers class of University Heights. They've done that for a few years, and it's been wonderful. They give me gift cards to HEB so that we can provide groceries, gas, especially since gas is so high. Being able to do that. The POP committee from, like I said, that's chaired by Jane Mundy. She's a mover and shaker, and so she gets things done for us, and I cannot say enough. But
The POP committee is Promote Our Positives.
Promote Our Positives for Huntsville ISD. Began just 2 or 3 years ago, and prior to that, it was just Juanita and I. We would pay for everything and get everything, and once we got this, we're like, wow, isn't this nice? We don't have to decide whether we're going to have food or they're going to have food,
Yeah.
But it's just been wonderful to be able to really do some services for kids.
How can folks reach out if there's someone today watching live, or maybe there's someone going back listening on the podcast or rewatching this later, and they say, I want to help out? How can they help out? What are the ways they can contact y'all?
Gift cards to any place. Movies, the movie theater here, Shelby and Keith are great. Pool passes, anything that they have fun with their children. Going to Pop Shelf and Five Below, just being able to take them to get some fun stuff. Going out, getting a day pass out to State Park. They can donate any of those things, gift cards to anywhere, and we use those as we need them.
And can they just drop it off like at the administration building,
Yes,
or where does that go to?
They'll drop it off with Robin Swackhammer
Okay.
at HISD Hawkins Administration Building on 2821 next to the high school. She's there 5 days a week. Yeah.
8 days a week, 366 days a year.
As much as she works, you are so right, she is. We are not in the office during the summer. Our official last day is Friday, but we'll be back on Tuesday,
Sure.
We still see our families, because if we don't, come August, we'll have trouble, finding some of them. And some of them, they just need that constant support to let them know to keep moving positive, keep doing things. You don't get into social work to be an 8 to 5 job. It just doesn't happen. We don't turn our phones off. In being in this community, we are what both Juanita and I have bought into this community. She's from here, but this is our home, and when we see a need, we're going to do what we can.
I love the fact that you go in and you do the financial aspect, because people do not realize how much they waste buying a soda.
Absolutely.
Or stopping and getting this or that. And, that is the foundation after God. that is the foundation for being able to support your family, is to take a budget. A lot of times it's not how much you make, it's what you do with it.
Exactly.
And so that's the foundation for them to continue to have success, is to know what they do with their money.
And showing their kids that
Mhm.
that you can't have immediate wants or rewards, but you can have long-term rewards, something bigger down the road.
Yeah, I think that's so important because we live in a society today where it's now. You know, the car companies have caught on to it. You know, I'm not going to say the names, but they have the car vending machine now. Oh, I want the Ford F-150. Boom, bam.
Exactly.
Now it's like a Coke coming out of a machine. I
Yes.
get my car. You know.
Oh, well, I had some 6th and 7th graders, and I did a question with them, what's a need and what's a want? And had them make a list. And, you know, well, they need a cell phone, they need, you know, they need this, they need that. And I'm like, no, those are wants. I didn't have that when I was growing up. I mean, you know, you need food, you need shelter, and you need clothing. If it doesn't fit in one of those 3 categories, it's not a need, it's a want.
Yeah.
And that was a big eye opener for them, because they had all this list of, I need this, I need cable, I need, you know, cable's out now, but, you know, I need this streaming service, I need the phone, I need, you know, and no, you know.
When I first started, having a cell phone was an extra.
Oh yeah, they were
for
expensive
my
too.
parents. Yeah, exactly. For the parents, it was, you know, you have a landline and you don't need a cell phone. Now, I need my parents to have a cell phone. They need to have that communication with their schools, with a job. And thank goodness the government sees that as a need, and they're more available to those people who have limited income. I don't think most people out there realize how limited income people live off of. I have so many families who live off of a parent's SSI check.
I just don't even know how they can do it.
$793.
It's unbelievable.
$844 if you add in a little bit. $844 to pay your rent, electricity, and even with some subsidies, even if they're on housing or whatever, that's still not very much, because a third of it, when you're on a housing thing, they still charge a third of your money for rent. That's just how the rest of the world does too. So people that say, well, you know, they're not working and they're just living off of welfare, they're existing off of government subsidies. They are not living. They are simply existing.
Yeah, I think it's really important. That's why we highlight these things. We always want to lift up and encourage others in our community. And Sally, you're doing just that. We appreciate your time here this morning. Before we let you go, any final things that we missed? I know we covered a lot. We talked about how folks can get involved, how they can help. Wanted to make sure that we highlight all those things.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say congratulations to the class of 23. Shout out to some of my seniors there that I'm so excited and so proud that they are graduating, and lifting them up for their future, and because they are the future of Huntsville. We do have doctors here and attorneys here that went to school in Huntsville, so we are very proud, and we see lots of better things in the future. But if the community wants to get involved, they can contact Juanita or I through the school district. If we're not, instead of giving out phone numbers right now, they can call the administration building and they can put them into our phones. We check our messages all summer, all the time. We're always around.
Awesome. Well, that's what it's all about. And when you have folks who are passionate and care, just like Sally, you guarantee that there's going to be great things happening. So we appreciate your time this morning.
you.
And I'm sure that you and I will cross paths soon and talk more about some things and some ideas that we have here at Hello Huntsville that we've kind of talked about off camera, you know, to be able to help you guys. So we'll do what we can to support y'all. And thank you for all that you do. It's been a blessing this morning.
Thank you. And thank you for doing this. This is a great service. I look forward to seeing these things in the morning. So I'm tickled to be here because I wouldn't have known about this.
Yeah, sure. And we couldn't do it without folks like Rick and Kay. So
the sponsors I thought were fantastic.
Yeah, they provided the foundation, and we're able to be here and again, highlight all the good that's happening. Sally, thank you so much. Been a blessing this morning.
Appreciate it.
We'll step aside. We'll take a break. We've still got a segment to go. Stay with us as we continue to talk about the good happening here in Huntsville. Also, high gas prices. And we mentioned it earlier. I've got something to add to that here in a little bit when we come back. Stay with us. It's Good Morning Huntsville. Hey, friends, welcome back at it here on Good Morning Huntsville. Great program this morning to hear from Sally Dowis there with HISD Social Services, and, you know, just bringing her in because you guys are in education and kind of tying it in. I like what she said. You know, she said that there's needs across the community. You know, she works in the public school system and believes in it, and you know, there's a place for every kid that needs to be somewhere, you know, and you guys provide a valuable resource with what you do through Montessori, and I think it's amazing. And just to talk and to highlight kids, I mean, that's something I could talk about almost every single day.
Yes, it is. I'm laughing because you've slipped.
What did I do? Did I say Montessori?
No.
What did I?
Very first one, we talked about kids and children.
Yeah. What did I say?
We talked about children.
Yeah.
What's the offspring of a baby goat?
Kids.
Yeah.
Well, it's just because the old coat, you know, it's because the coat.
I'm giving you a hard time again.
If people don't know it, if people don't realize what Kay's talking about, we don't call them kids, we call them children. And you don't say Montessori, it's Montessori. And you don't say daycare, you say child care. So I've learned these things. See,
Daycare just implies you send them home alive. You go to doggy daycare and you go to adult daycare, and you're not expected to learn anything.
Yeah, so there you go. So Kay, it is working. It is settling in with me. The problem is I'm around a lot of great coaches, and one of my favorite coaches, he always said kids. He goes, these are good kids. And so it sticks in my mind, and I love Coach Jason very much, and I just hear his voice all the time. So when I think of children, I think of kids.
This is her version of being PC.
Yeah. So, all right, there we go. That's as far as we're going to get PC here on this show, by the way. So there you go, bringing it in. I want to welcome you back in. Thanks for joining us here on another great episode of Good Morning Huntsville. Always a joy and privilege. As I brought up last show, we do not see the comments anymore from the Huntsville, Texas News and Events group. And I did want to highlight folks that are chiming in through that group this morning. Lisa Gates Branch sent in a message saying, good morning, Rob, Kay, and Rick. So grateful for our friends this morning. She said a quick text from a friend who needed help in Forest Hills last night. All of our guy friends headed to the rescue. My son said it best. It's just what we do. Mm-hmm. So, Lisa, thanks for chiming in. She was on the show yesterday. She's with Learning RX and also a board member with CASA on the board of directors. Stephanie Pitts over at Advantage Specialties also chiming in on the group saying good morning. And also a good morning to Ashlyn Hooks and Sherry McAdam joining us across the platform. So want to make sure that we acknowledge everybody who's joining us. Nelson Amaya saying good morning a few moments ago. And also our good friend, Miss Irma Dowden. We need to get Irma in here. Do you guys know Irma?
I don't think so.
I need to get Irma in here on the show sometime. She works over at the county clerk's office. She is a lot of fun and just a wonderful person. I got to know her and her mom, Lupe, very well when I first came to Huntsville.
Well, Rob, Jerica chimes in every morning.
She does.
I'd just like her to know that we have a spare room if she wants to come visit.
Yeah, so there's the invitation, Jerica. We're turning this into like a running, legitimate joke, by the way. So there is room for you here in Huntsville, Texas. I like saying that now. It kind of gets that twang down there in your lower lip. Boy, I tell you what, boy.
You need a chaw at the back.
I need a little chaw right there now. I'm just kidding. That's not what we're about here if you're just joining us. High gas prices earlier. The good Lord has a sense of humor when let me say this disclaimer. I don't wish bad on any business, anything, by the way. I've never wished that. But there's a certain gas station here off the interstate that's always about $1 or $2 higher than everybody else in town. And we drove by yesterday, and Bridget said, their sign blew up and blew down. And I guess that was God's sense of humor saying, your gas is too high. I don't know what the deal is for that. It's a running joke in Huntsville, though, but it's a certain gas station when you get a big grin on your face. And it's like $3.99 a gallon. I'm like, my goodness. When across the street, it's $2.85. And so we drove by yesterday, and I was like, their sign's not there anymore. So the wind took care of that, and we're blowing down the gas prices here in Huntsville, Texas this morning. So I did want to talk about that, But I don't wish any ill will, obviously, on any business. Just good fun this morning. So, a lot going on. It was great to catch up with Sally. And what do you guys have going on? Now you're through the fun run, the color run, which went very well. You're through now the business after hours. A lot of planning went into that. Great turnout last night. And, what are you guys doing now? What's next? But the groundbreaking, that's happening.
We're working on the third location, and we're already planning things for the fall. And actually, Monday we start field trip. No, sorry, we'll close Monday. Tuesday we start field trips with
On our summer
the
program.
elementary students are out of school, so we will be going on field trips 4 times a week.
Awesome. Do you have just a few more minutes? I know we're getting close to our hour here. Do you guys have maybe another 5 minutes or so?
Yeah.
I want to show something very special from last night.
Oh.
It was Mayor Andy Broniger, and he had a special proclamation. This is a few minutes long. We're going to play that now. This was last night at the business after hours. Here's the mayor.
I talked to Rick this morning. I said, what a great day for you, too. And he said, well, it's mainly Kay's day. He said, I just do what she tells me to do. So, I think we all have a little bit of that in us. But as I was looking at this award and thinking about it and looking at the pictures that were being shown, I was focused on the children. And it's a heart endeavor, okay? And your heart has to be into it. And what could be more important in Huntsville, Texas, than our children? And so I thank you, Kay, from the bottom of my heart of what you've done over these years to instruct children, to help them along life's path, and to put up with them. So, with that in mind, the city of Huntsville has a proclamation that they want to issue today. Kay, you come up here.
We're showing this here, but
City of
here's the
Huntsville
audio, and the video of it may not be coming through.
2023-15. Whereas Kay Boning was recognized in 2023 by the Small Business Administration, Houston District, as Rural Business Owner of the Year throughout 16 counties. The first child care center to be recognized by the SBA, meeting the requirements of business growth and community involvement. And whereas Kay kept her business open, providing child care throughout COVID, which is amazing. I tell you, Kay, I know those parents were just so grateful that you had provided a place for those children. Speaking to children, they used, and you might think about this in the future too, okay? Because you got till November to think about that, because that's when I turn around. but they used to ask me to go to the Child Care Development Center out on 980 once a year and read a book to the kids. And the first time I went, I was a little, what do they exactly want me to do? Well, I went into a classroom with about 15 or 20 kids, and they handed me a book. It was about a dog named Red. I remember that. And I started reading the book, and the kids' eyes were just huge. And the more I read, the closer they inched up towards me. And before the book was over, I had 4 of them sitting in my lap, and 2 of them hanging up around my neck, and they were offering all their comments about the book. Said, "Oh, I've got a dog like that. Oh, well, my dog can do that," But that's what I think about when I see these pictures of these kids. How wonderful it is to use your time to share it with children. I can't think of a better thing for anybody to do.
So when you retire, you're going to be in there every day?
Yes, I'm going to be there. Okay.
Tell me you're ready.
Kay kept her business open, providing child care throughout COVID to ensure essential personnel in Huntsville were able to maintain the infrastructure of our community, keeping our community safe and healthy, and keeping our stores and gas stations operational. This resulted in her being in a book about how child care centers coped with COVID, bringing positive attention to our community. Before COVID, child care centers were not recognized as being essential to the success of the economy. Kay changed that. She expanded her business 35% during the pandemic, a time when about 21% of Texas child centers permanently closed. Whereas Kay started the local Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Now, I'd like to see that library in 2018 from her desire to see all children, not just her students, be able to have access to books, foster the love of learning, and to improve our community's literacy rates. The program has had 653 children graduate from it and is sending out over 800 books a month to area children for free. Now you're getting to my heart. Okay. She has started a partnership with the hospital to have enrollment forms given to every new child born at our community hospital. Whereas Kay was the first person in Walker County to be selected and finish the SBA Emerging Leaders class, she is a leader throughout the community, serving on the board of directors for the Huntsville Walker County Chamber of Commerce as the Chamber Ambassador and the HLI Committee. She is involved with the Huntsville Downtown Business Alliance and is an institutional review board member for Sam Houston State University. And now, therefore, I, Andy Bronner, Mayor of Huntsville, Texas, do hereby proclaim May the 23rd, 2023 is Kay Boning Day. Andy Bronner, Mayor.
How great that was for you, Kay. And I know you're extremely humble and you don't talk things up that you do, but you received a proclamation from the mayor, Kay Boning Day in Huntsville, Texas, officially now May the 23rd. That was exciting.
Just so you know, Rob, this is actually the second Kay Boning Day.
Okay.
She had one on her 50th birthday.
Awesome. You got two of them here in Huntsville, Texas, so twice the fun. Kay Boning, Tomorrow's Promise. That was great. I know the video, we had the video on our end, but for some reason didn't come through there on the, for those of you that are joining us on the social media feeds, you can still hear it. I know you couldn't see it, but we'll post that at a later date on our Facebook page as well, and we'll also share it with Kay and Rick so they can post it on their social media platforms. But again, just the community recognizing the efforts of those that are working so hard to give back. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me from that was not only what you do with Tomorrow's Promise, but just hearing about the Imagination Library. I think it was funny. Mayor goes, "I'd like to see that library." I said, well, you can. I mean, there's 800 kids that receive. Think about that for a minute, Huntsville. Can you just pause for just a moment? 800, not 80, not 800 books every single month are shipped out to kids throughout Walker County because of Kay Boning's vision to bring the Imagination Library here to Huntsville. Talk about the literacy in these kids, that it's going to make, these children, that it's going to make a difference, Kay. It's just unbelievable. And the vision for that. And that's what really stood out to me when Mayor was speaking. You know, just that one number stood out, 800. Think about that. And there's more than 800 children here in our community.
I'd like to see them all get books.
And you can. You just sign up online. It's free. I didn't realize it until you and I started talking that there's no charge for it because of the support from the community, such as the Color Run and other events that help to raise funds to do that. Because the books are free. You got to pay for the shipping. And so that's where the funds go to help with the shipping cost. So good stuff this morning, man. I feel inspired. Like this brick wall right here. I'm about to go. We're going to turn the camera off. So if something bad happens, but I'm about to run through this wall this morning. That's how inspired I feel today, Rick. So Rick and I will try to run.
You feel pretty good.
Yeah, we'll try to run through the brick wall a little bit later.
Just like go over a couple of feet. It's not so thick over there.
Yeah, there's some drywall right next to us, so that'll be a fun episode one day. Rick and I will run through the drywall and we'll see what happens. So, hey friends, it's been such a good one here today. Appreciate Russell Humphrey also joining in as well. Chiming in. I like what he says. He always says, "Let's go, Huntsville." And so I love that. So we appreciate you, Russell. Thanks for chiming in this morning. Angela Jones a little bit earlier saying, "Good morning. I'm thankful for family and safety after the crazy weather yesterday." And then Rick, while he was there waiting earlier, said, "I'm thankful for Sally and Rob and Kay that are guiding our children to be productive adults." Appreciate that, Rick. So I'm just here to host the show. These are the ladies, and Kay is the one that does it.
I've seen the way you raised Braylon.
Yeah. She was crying yesterday, and I took a business card. I always have business cards in my pocket now. And that's why I like wearing these shirts. I don't like shirts that don't have pockets too much. If I'm like doing so, I still like to have the pocket, put my cell phone in right here, it starts looking kind of cool. Not really. But I take my business cards, and Braylon was just screaming, and I turned him into a mouth yesterday, and I was doing this, and I just went up to her, and I was like, hey, Braylon, like this with the business card. And she quit screaming and had fun for 10 minutes. The reason I brought this up, you don't need to pull these dumb electronic devices out and put them in front of your kids to calm them down. Take out a piece of cardboard paper and turn it into a mouth and go, wah, 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 and the kid will quit crying. It's easy. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out.
Well, we could go off of Wednesday wisdom with that.
Yep.
What you're doing is you're showing them creativity. You're showing them a way to entertain themselves and a way to not be bored.
There's your Wednesday wisdom today.
So, if you always give them the phone, then they're not watching and learning around themselves. They're not learning how to get over being bored. They're not learning that creativity. And it actually affects brain development.
Yeah, it does. So there's your Wednesday wisdom. Is what Kay was basically saying is, in a nutshell, have cardboard and paper nearby to make mouths out of.
My son, one time, I don't know if you remember Snailer or not, but took the inside of a paper towel tube, the cardboard, and played with that for 8 hours on the road from Huntsville to Woodward, Oklahoma, and named it Snailer. And Snailer had all kinds of adventures and everything, and that cardboard tube went with him for 3 or 4 weeks. But he just found it, took it from the house, and played with it all the way, and there wasn't no cell phone to give him to play with, or we didn't have the video in the car or anything like that. And, just the imagination that child had was amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Yesterday, Braylon, we have these 3 little Thai Beanie Baby cats with the big eyes. She loves those. For some reason, she's addicted to cats. We will never own a cat. We will never have a cat. Grew up with a lot of cats, love cats if they're your cats, but we will not have cats. And that's the last time I'm going to say cats today because I don't like that word. But
bear cat.
Yeah, but bear cats, that's a different type of cat. I mean, that's a ferocious cat. That cat at least knows how to use a litter box, thankfully, and also win national championships. So, I'd like to see your house cat win a national championship. But I don't even know why she had the Thai Beanie Baby cats. And it was cool because she's starting to get to this it's just so neat, as a parent now, watching your child develop and just the new things that come out of her mouth and what she says. And she truly is a sponge. She's a little minor bird. She soaks in everything you say. Bridget showed me a video, and it was some joke video, and it was one of those it wasn't like crude, but it was one that was like, that's, it's like, it was funny, but it was like, that's terrible type funny. So I said to Bridget, I was laughing. I said, that's terrible. And Braylon heard me, and she go, that's terrible. And so now she'll just go, that's terrible. It's like, I said it one time, and she soaks it in and says it now. But last night she had these Thai Beanie Babies, and Bridget brought it to my attention. She lined them up. It's so cool to see her creativity. Before, when she would just set them down randomly, now she's learned how to set these little Thai Beanie Baby cats with big, googly, scary-looking eyes. She sets them up, 1, 2, and 3. She faced them all the right way, and she counted them. 18 months. She goes, 1, 2, 3. And I was like, that is amazing. So, you know what? Keep your kids off this stuff, and you'll be surprised. And when I say stuff, for those of you who listen on audio, keep them away from the electronics. Don't let that be the babysitter, and you'll be surprised with how fast these kiddos will learn.
Yeah, just breaks my heart to see a baby with a phone attached to the stroller so that the baby can watch what's on the phone. There's so much out there for them to see and learn and take in.
Breaks my heart now that Apple's coming out with the watch for toddlers. I'm just kidding. They're not coming out with that. Kay's over here like,
oh, no,
not that. Yeah, it's coming soon probably. Friends, been a good one here this morning. Want to appreciate everybody that chimes in as always. Several of you have entered our contest by putting a hashtag and a comment out there, so keep those coming in. Even after the show, we will take entries that aren't part of the live show. But just put a hashtag, a comment if you're going back watching now or later. Good Morning Huntsville, visit Huntsville, whatever you'd like to do. Also, like this broadcast and make sure to share it on your social media feed, and you will automatically be entered to win a beautiful bouquet of flowers courtesy of our good friend Leah Lineback with Sweet Caroline's Floral Shop at the end of this week. Rick and Kay, been a fun one. Thank y'all so much. This like brings me a lot of joy every day. Not just waking up and being thankful, but to be able to come here and especially on a Wednesday and see y'all. It's been a lot of fun.
I always enjoy being here, Ron.
We
You
have
do.
a great time.
Is hold on, Memorial Day.
Monday.
That's coming up on Monday. Rick, by the way, I wanted to highlight. I'm going to switch the camera to you, Rick, a little bit closer there. Rick, for those of you that are still watching, Rick is wearing a VFW Buddy Poppy. We have those here in studio, by the way. Those are going to be worn specifically. Rick has it now, and that's great because it's bringing awareness. But you'll see a lot of these on Monday for Memorial Day. And this is a program that the VFW Post has had for many, many years. And if you'd like your Buddy Poppy to proudly wear and to honor those that have served for Memorial Day, you can come by our studio here. We've got a whole handful of them, and we'll be more than happy to give you a Buddy Poppy and honor those on Memorial Day coming up on Monday. Friends, been a fun one here today. As always, we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us here on Good Morning Huntsville. Got more great shows coming your way the rest of this week, so stay tuned in, and we'll keep you updated on all things good happening here in Huntsville, Texas.
Y'all have a
Appreciate
great
you.
day.
Have a great day as I end every broadcast, reminding you today that we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other, friends. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand to support. Somebody out there needs you. Good morning, Huntsville. God bless. And big thank you again to Tomorrow's Promise Montessori Schools for being here and sponsoring the program today. We'll see you next time.